We've got one serious talk to have, guys. How to build your own confidence and sell your work. Hi everyone, and how are you guys doing? So, if you're a first time here, my name is Anfisa and I'm UX designer, freelancer, and I'm here to help you to become a better designer. Now, today we have a special topic which I feel like we need to cover, even though it's not a hot topic and nobody really Googles this topic. So, here is the deal. We UX designers, we sometimes forget that we are not just creatives. We UX designers are on the edge between creative field and strategic and rational field. So we should really be more confident about who we are. We need to be able to sell our work, and of course we need to rationalize all our decisions and back it up with the user research, right? Now, how do you become confident as a person, as a creative, and also as a brand identity to be able to sell your design work, right? Now, it's a very tough topic, especially because we have to deal with a lot of uncertainties, and since this topic has so much questions, I decided to invite two special guests today. And so our first guest for today is Groce, who is a strategist, designer, and also a mentor who helps a lot of people to build their own brands. And if you ever ask me who do you think is the most confident person I know in the online space, I will definitely think of a Groce as a top of my name, right? Now, our second guest is Santos, not less inspiring girl. She is ex-Google. She's now a design mentor. She's coaching students and help young designers to become confident in who they are and basically to sell their work also. I believe that those two designers are the best people who can speak about building your own confidence. Okay, now let's jump into the video and see what they have to say about this topic. Here's the first question. So, do you believe that confidence is something natural, something that we have in our genetics, or we should all build it through our life, through our experience? And also, does knowing design process and being confident in design process is enough? Or anyway, you have to be a very confident personality in order to sell your work and your design solutions?
So, my opinion is confidence is natural, but you have to ask in what state it actually comes. So confidence typically, even if you look at something in a natural state, such as a child, they have confidence because they don't know what is the correct way of doing things. Whereas when we are gradually evolving into, early adolescence to adulthood, we have created our own internal barriers of what we think we're going to strive for. And when we compare what we're capable of versus what we're internally comparing ourselves to, that's what creates the lack of confidence. That's typically how I define confidence. Is it's usually lack of confidence usually comes from not being well prepared. First off, it's a two-problem thing. It's fixing your internal image of knowing and really trusting yourself to actually be able to get to where you're trying to be. So you believe that there are great designers and that you're a subpar designer, you will be a subpar designer. I call it the power of belief. It's a serious issue because you're internalizing really those beliefs. To overcome that internal bias that you're creating by separating yourself from a pack or in doing this and saying, I'm here and I want to be here, and then because I'm not here, I then have this low of a lack of a confidence. Instead of putting confidence into skills, put confidence on top of effort. Yeah. So, and what I mean by that is you will see that people become more confident when they are continuously trying to get better. Yeah. Because they are trusting themselves to be able to evolve into the thing that they want to become. So rather than focusing on other people are here and you're here, focus on you're here, but the you want to be is here. Yeah. And focus on what this thing actually looks like and what you can become. So it's a shift in what you're focusing on and where you put your confidence. Put your confidence in the process of doing than where you are currently.
Okay.
I feel like
it's not just like the process or your natural, like whatever you was born with, but it's also it's like your mindset. You have to always work on what's on your head and like how do you want to represent yourself. Yeah. It's sort of all in your head.
So what I think personally, I think definitely you can build confidence. So it's not just something like you were born with or something that is immediately natural to you. But I do think there are people who they are just more naturally confident than others. So for them, it's somewhat easier. But what I think in terms of building your confidence, it also has a lot to do with the task you're doing. So for example, let's say I'm going to do something like public speaking, right? If I'm doing that and my personality is more like shy, or I'm more of an introvert, then maybe I'm not going to be as confident doing that. And it could also be about a technical skill. Like, for example, if I'm not really comfortable in terms of technical stuff, but I need to do something technical, then, maybe I'm not going to be as confident doing that task. So I do think you can build confidence, and it is a bit related to your skills as well. But I think you can definitely build confidence by, doing more of that stuff and feel more comfortable. Doing that.
Now, we designers have to constantly deal with uncertainties. We always have to be confident when we are not sure about upcoming results. How do we deal with this? How do we stay confident when we do not know any answers up front?
And I'm gonna go off of what I just talked about and how I place, and I think that's the key, how you place confidence and where you gain confidence from. Because before I answer your question, because a lot of people put their confidence externally. So what other people say builds their confidence, and some other people put their confidence in, like I said, their process. So therefore, regardless of the inconsistencies that you have to deal with, your confidence is internal. So whatever comes at you, you'll be able to handle. So with that said, in terms of coming back from knowing how I was, is because I'm fair. I feel like everybody is shy, but it depends on where in their facets of life they're shy, and that typically, and it comes with inexperience that creates the shyness, because they're unsure of what's to come, and that's when the things like the uncertainties kind of get to you. And oh shit, I don't know my shit, so I don't know what to expect, and that's when the nerves set in. And so what I would do instead is I would over practice. So I would be at home and I would practice literally talking to the air. This is how this is how I'm going to, this is my introduction, this is who I am, this is what I know I'm going to talk about, these are it's repetition until, like, so much work before even the actual event happens. So that I know when I get there, it's going to be muscle memory and like tongue memory. And because then it's so ingrained in me, it's basically reciting, and that's being over prepared cut out the confidence issue, because I knew what I was going to say in my points to the back of my hand, and it allowed me to actually focus. And I think that's a big thing. Like, 100% people know me as like, if I have not prepared, I am a nervous wreck. I'm like, people don't realize, like, my videos that I output, there's so many outtakes, and like the early ones. But then I learned a process of how to actually do videos. I write it out on paper. These are my points. Those are the only things I'm going to talk about. So there's an equation for confidence, and for me, it's being over prepared.
Okay, I get it.
Okay, so for me, the big trick here is managing expectations.
Okay.
So you really need to be comfortable about explaining all the constraints and, everything that you have control over, and the things that, it will depend on every other factor. When, in most of my UX projects, we work in an agile environment. So it's a good thing, right? Because people are already used to that concept that things are not going to be right at first time, and it requires a lot of research, a lot of testing. So that's something that, you really need to manage expectations. You really need to explain how is it going to work. Like, there are things that in the beginning of your process, they are going to be assumptions. They are not things that you can take for granted, and you don't know what's going to happen before you test. When I'm reviewing something, because people, because of I do UX, I do CRO as well, people are, take a look at my website, I really want it to convert better, what can I do? And I'm really careful about that, because I really need to manage expectations. Like, what I'm saying, it's based on either heuristics or on best practices, but you do need to test with real users. And I think, helping people understand that nothing is a replacement for the test with real users, for the research, everything that comes after that. So for me, it's a lot about managing expectations, and you feel confident because you know the process, but you can't guarantee the results. And also being transparent, like being completely honest, like you can't guarantee some things.
I really like this answer. I also feel like it's kind of interconnected, because you build the skill, you understand the process, you build the confidence, and even it's a lot of uncertainties, you're still able to first of all talk and speak up, because you need to like make sure that we understand that we don't know, but we will figure it out, and then basically be on the same page. Yeah.
Now, can you also give me a couple of tips about how to build your own confidence? Any exercises, anything that comes to your mind? Just think of, if you would start all over again, what are the tips that you would apply or suggest to someone who wants to be more confident and basically being able to sell your own work?
Tip number one, be really comfortable with the topic that you are, teaching, working, whatever you're doing. Become really comfortable, and it's not something automatic. It's not something like you start learning something new and you don't know everything about it. I mean, you don't know enough to feel confident about. So do as much as you can, like practicing, reading, feel like you really know about the topic. So my tip number one would be being really comfortable about the topic and about the work you do. The second thing is actually accept the fact that you are not going to know everything. So even when you are comfortable with that topic, you need to be also comfortable that you are not going to know absolutely everything. And that's something I personally struggled with as well in the beginning. When I was doing like workshops or even speaking at events, I was like, oh my God, what if I don't know, the answer? If someone asks me something I don't know. And, you just have to be comfortable that we are not perfect.
Yeah.
And perfectionism could be one of the many reasons why people are not more confident. Like it could be a barrier, it could be a block. So it's really important, like accepting that we are, we don't know everything, and that's fine. That doesn't make us, less of an expert in the topic or in the work we are doing.
Yeah, it's actually could be even useful to face this fear, to understand that it's not so scary actually. Even most important thing is be prepared to the fact that somebody will ask you this. And you shouldn't be afraid that you don't know the answer, because it's normal. People are not Googles.
And the third tip is be able to identify your strengths and weaknesses, like what you're really good at and what you are not so good at. Because then, you are comfortable that, okay, I'm really good at this stuff, okay, and I can get better at it. Like I can study about this topic, I can read more, but, I'm really good at this. And I know that I'm not as good as, in other topics. So I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths, and I'm comfortable about that. So tip number 4, I would say also stop comparing yourself to others, because that's something we do a lot. Stop comparing yourself to others, and also managing these expectations that things don't happen overnight. And that's a normal process. It's like starting like with baby steps, right? Preparing yourself to do a public event, like I said in the beginning. Like baby steps would be, okay, talk to your friends first, maybe do a presentation with your colleagues. Like starting with baby steps would usually make you feel more confident.
Prepare well.
One of my first talks, it was in front of 125 people. I've never talked in front of people before. I just run my mouth on the internet, and it's way more people online versus in person. Never done that shit before. And what I did, and what you can do if you're learning a new skill, you can mimic confidence. So if you watch on YouTube, for me, it was watching people present and literally watching what they did, and I copied that shit. So channels like The Future or any other channel that really run you through how to pitch a client and run you through their process, you do not have to create anything. There's stuff out there that you can literally steal and run with, and that you can practice with. Anything that I've learned and I do really well, it is from seeing really good people do what they do, stealing that and practicing it to a T. So in terms of how to get ready, I would really say figure out who you need to copy, who is at the top of their class, take some of their habits and literally some of their behaviors, because that's the shit that works. And because that's the shit that works, and you're like, yo, if you really, and it's from people you really respect, you're like, yo, Christo is a bomb. he's really respected. I really respect him. If I just take some of that because I respect that, not only am I taking behavior from somebody you really trust, you feel
More confident.
more confident and more. It feels more natural to somebody you trust, just like you have natural quirks and behaviors from your mother and father that go unseen by you because those traits and things you grew up with and you naturally adapted. It's the same thing that you're going to do, and you feel confident in those things. The way you laugh, the way you talk, the way you crack jokes. You don't feel that you have to be confident in those things because that's what you learned while growing up. You just now have to be cognizant of how the body and the mind learns and go do that actively now for the skills that you actually want to have in the world.
Yeah. I totally understand what you're talking about. I think like it's like a lot of people right now look for those role models to just see, at least to have some orient to like start with, at least to see like if I'm doing it right, to at least when you copy, then you know that it's like somebody verified that that's working, you can start from there. And you will not be able to still copy it completely because you're a different person and your mimics is different, and you will still add some your personal points to it. So yeah, it's a very cool idea. I think also like what helped me personally was actually just talking to myself and like in front of the camera or in front of the mirror or something. For example, for me, what was the best experience is to go to hackathons and be in front of those, I don't know, hundreds of people, listening to your idea, judging everything. Like it's a stupid fresh idea, nobody was thinking through it, but you have to present it so that everybody wouldn't buy it, right? And like you have to, it's a simple task. Go to the mirror, and even if you don't have any like, you don't understand what you're doing, you just repeat and then you start believing it so much that you go up there and like everybody trusts you too. But you have to do this dozens of times.
The summary of that is literally just practice. And when you ask yourself practice what? Find those mentors, those people that you trust and that you look up to and that are great at their craft. Find things that are similar that you can pull out that are very similar to your natural capabilities. And if you don't have any mentors who fit your natural capabilities, technically it might be great, but find people who are like literally you, but like 5-10 years in the future, and who have like this terrible jokes, the same cadence, and similar to you, so you can be like, that's me in 10 years. I can steal that because I know I do the same thing. He's just, or she's just a little bit better. So
cool. That's a cool tip. So sometimes people who are not confident at the beginning, they try to become a little bit, they kind of become a little bit overprotective, and like instead of just accepting that we're not smart, there are two reactions. Our either being like super protective of the ideas and everything I say, or trying to be too arrogant or like too confident, right? Like I know my thing, like I've learned it, like you can't tell me anything. So like, do you have any experience working with the opposite reaction, when people are so not confident that they have to protect, or like have this mask of being too overly confident or something? How would you help people to like avoid this reaction?
I know it's frustrating for some people because when you start working in the real world, that's not how things work. So obviously not everyone is going to know the process of UX design. And one of the things that I think are mostly difficult, even in a company, when you are in a company, is advocating for that role, like being the advocate of the users and actually make sure that every team is on board. So one thing that people forget is that they want to explain the idea, explain the research, but if you don't involve everyone, it's a completely different thing. Like, for example, if you have stakeholders involved in like the process of the research, if you have them view the recordings, like, getting to know their users, it's completely different experience, because you're not going to, think people are feeling left out because, this person comes here, they think they know everything, they think they know how I run my business, and people don't like that. And it's not only in UX, also in design, because in design, of course, even if you're not doing data-driven work, but if there are certain rules in design, visual hierarchy, and all of that stuff that designers know. And one thing I noticed is that not many designers know how to invite proper feedback. So they don't know, like sometimes all they have is like a link, literally one link saying, okay, check out my work, what do you think?
Yeah.
And they're not trained they're not trained to give feedback. So maybe they will say, you know, I don't like it, and they will say things we hate, like make it pop, or you know, all these things we hate.
Yeah.
They don't know what to say.
I really love this. Yeah, I love that you're talking about the communication and how important is this good bond. I feel the same way. I feel like if, for example, as a freelancer, for me, it's also very stressful when I don't have like a good communication with the client, especially remotely, since we're not able to like have face-to-face conversations most of the times. And like when I feel like he's not even engaged or not participating in whatever I'm doing, I'm sending the things and like updating with the things, whatever happens like in the project, I try to update the client all the time. But if he's not participating, not asking questions, not trying to you know, initiate the calls, then I feel like I don't even know what to expect from this project, because obviously I don't even know how do we put ourselves in the same page. It's really important to just understand, and that's the reason why people can become like this close and overprotective of the ideas. So communication is a key, I think so too.
That is it, guys. Thank you so much for being throughout this whole video. Thank you for staying tuned, and if you have any questions or any suggestions, please leave them down below. I'm always open to hear your opinions, and of course don't forget to subscribe, leave your likes, comments. I'm always happy to interact with you. See you on the next video next week. Ciao, guys!